Hey, Kate here. Let's talk Conan. Today, I have a bit of a different episode. So, once a month, what I really like to do is pick one specific remote from within Conan's history and just make a case as to why it's a perfect piece of comedy. Originally, I was going to make these more like bonus episodes, but considering the topics and the lineup that I already have planned, I think they'll work, you know, decent as a regular edition. And speaking of bonus episodes, as soon as I can watch it and get access to it in May, I will be making a bonus episode about the Mark Twain Award. So early to mid May, keep an eye out for that. The first remote review is going to be about one of my all time favorites. I can always come back to this one when I've had a, you know, bad, sad, or otherwise not glad day, and it just gives me a complete 180. It's been mentioned on Conef by Sona as a highlight. I am, of course, talking about Conan O'Brien Becomes a Mary Kay Beauty Consultant. If you're gonna introduce somebody to Conan, you gotta show them this remote. It is just slam packed with all the Conanisms. And I mean all of them. There isn't a single one that isn't in this video. Every time I watch this remote, I'm kind of reminded that, oh yeah, that's where I got that from. Which makes me seem like a terrible person, but I mean, it's true. A lot of the bits that I do in my day to day, I only retroactively find out are inspired by Conan, which is just like humbling to hell. I think I have an original idea, and then I happen to click on something from 1996, and nope, not original. In fact, completely stolen. So, it's nice. But hey, if I can make a career imitating, wouldn't that be very flattering? Much to think about. Some of my favorite Conanisms that you can find in this 8-minute video. 8 minutes, and it's just the most Conan thing ever. Immediately off the bat, we get a bad skin joke. Crystal, the actual beauty consultant, is using a brush on his hand and and makes a joke about, your freckles are disappearing, and Conan just lays into her about how long they've been with him. And it's honestly surprising how, after 30 years, a man making jokes about his freckles still hits. I don't think there's anything in this world that reasonably could be joked about for 30 years and still be funny unless done by Conan O'Brien. Like, even a Craig Ferguson, I couldn't imagine him having a bit for 30 fucking years straight. And I think that just speaks again to the loyalty of humor Conan has. He has not changed. As an avid watcher and rewatcher of his 90s stuff, the comedy is very much the same, which is a comfort for somebody like me who relies on routine. Anyways, which maybe is a part of the comfort of Conan, the consistency being key. Anyways, I'm not going to use my psych degree today. Another very, very, very big Conanism is being a creepy uncle. I'll get into that once I actually start talking about the best part of the video. I also wanted to make note about his fake reading out loud. So he'll pick up a bottle and he'll just make shit up. I didn't realize I stole that from him. That's one of those bits. I love to just pick up a water bottle and start reading absolute nonsense off the back of it. Another Conanism I have proudly stolen is the "I need to go to a hospital" line. I think that joke works anywhere at any time. It's just a classic, and I didn't realize I stole it from him until about a few years ago when I went to rewatch this, and it only made me sadder rather than happy. Next, there is a part of this where Conan he's in his Mary Kay beauty jacket, and he's doing a fake scene, an improv scene, wherein he's trying to get into somebody's house, and he stomps his foot in the door, and he goes, "You don't want to make me mad." And that has lived in my head for the last 13 years. I don't mean that as an exaggeration or hyperbole. Literally every single day I hear that racking around. And because I first saw all of these when I was super young, I didn't realize where it was from. So imagine you're like 15 years old and all you hear in your head echoing, "You don't want to make me mad." And you think it's from like SpongeBob. So you're referencing it to your friends. None of them fucking get it. They don't, it's not from SpongeBob, it's from this fucking 40-year-old man on TBS, of all places. No one's gonna get that. And that's why I was very alone as a child. Anyways, I think it's really important not just to emphasize how Conan plays, but also how Crystal plays. I think Crystal is the perfect straight man. She keeps him level, keeps him, in the world of reality, but doesn't knock him down for being silly. I think sometimes with these remotes, we get people who feel like they're not in on the bit, even though they are, or maybe they just kind of feel like it's too stupid when it probably is too stupid. But I think Crystal does a great job of balancing it between being honest and funny rather than honest and brutal. It just kind of makes me think about a recent Conan O'Brien Needs a Fan, where in the subreddit a lot of people were kind of dishing on this dude for trying to keep up with Conan, and they like hated him. And I thought it was gonna be a really hard to listen to episode, but it turns out like he's just matching the energy of Conan and he's just having fun. And it just kind of springs back to the whole like you don't need to defend Conan. He's a grown man. If he doesn't like something, it's okay. He's not actually getting bullied by some fan in North Dakota. Like, just leave it alone. So I always get a little worried when people are not playing with Conan the way we expect. And I think Crystal played with him perfectly. Situational comedy is, without a doubt, my favorite type of comedy. It's a comedy that I'm really good at. I love to be put in scenarios that I just shouldn't be in. I'm not a very strong writer. So when I see these situations unfolding, I love to just dissect and see, what is making this funny. And in the case of the Mary Kay remote, it's just a perfect culmination of everybody having a good time. It's not necessarily got the written jokes that some others might have, and it's not necessarily the weirdest place to put a man. It's genuinely just everybody's there to have a good time, and it reminds me very much of just like a party with friends. That's something that is quite frequent in Conan remotes. The ability for him to turn normal situations with a group of people into just the funniest moments ever that you would have between your own friends. It's just wonderful. It's a superpower. As the video progresses, we get into the house of a few Mary Kay consumers where Conan and Crystal are set to demonstrate and try to sell products to these women, but it's basically just Conan using the makeup on himself, which, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, even now with Conaf, he still, like, steals people's stuff and puts it on. The man's a freak. He'll do anything for a little bit of clout and laughter. In this remote, we're just given possibly the funniest moments of who I refer to as the looming creep. And this is the character that Conan puts on where he gets told by one of the individuals, your makeup looks better the further you are. So he begins to play into that so perfectly where he'll go into the room over in a dark corner and he just starts saying, "Why can't I come in? I want to play." And he does it in this very raspy, tonal voice that it just makes it work. And that's something that's so obvious. When you think of comedy, you think of voices and caricatures. You don't think of just, why can't I come in? Why can't I play? It's so boring. And I think this is, and to me, this is evidence of Conan's situational abilities. To be funny is to be creative. And in the spur of the moment, to create a character who you want a backstory for. Like, who is this creep in the corner who wants to come in and play and join? But what takes it a step further is that he goes outside and just starts sort of slowly getting closer to the window. He's got this fucked up makeup on, not looking too hot. And slowly this shadow of a tall man gets closer and closer in the broad daylight. And it has this stereotypical shot of him. His face is right up on the window and he slams his hand up on it and he just starts peering in, and it's just perfect. It makes me giggle just thinking about it. It makes me smile. I adore I adore this remote so much. And it's all simple stuff. There are so many Conan remotes where it just seems super complex. A lot of people seem to be relatively involved, and there's a lot of writing that you can tell. But this is just one of those ones where a bunch of people got together and made something sweet. It was kids in a candy shop that day. I love this episode so much that I literally made a trailer about it. It's on my YouTube, which I will link down below in the description if you're not already listening to this on YouTube. Inspired by some people over at Reddit, check the description for credits. Again, it's one of those things where if somebody was ever like, hey, who's Conan O'Brien? Like, what does he do? What's his humor? I would just send him this without even thinking. Like, I have this video downloaded in case it ever goes missing. I will cherish this 8-minute long clip for the rest of my life. It is, without a doubt, the funniest bit of Conan remote work. So when it was mentioned on Conaf, believe me, I was surprised because I forget that people know about Conan. Like, he's not some secret thing. He's very, very well known, very highly regarded, and of course, his staff know his remotes. Uh, so when it got a shout out, I was just very excited because it reminded me that I can go watch that. I haven't seen that in a while. How lovely. Because typically what happens is where I'll just watch every remote known to man that I can find, and it all just kind of gets muddled together as to what I've seen and what I haven't seen, but the one that will always stand out to me without failure and without consequence is the Mary Kay one. It's one of those remotes that can probably make anyone feel like they can do it, right? It looks so easy to just be in that situation and make some jokes. But I think Conan is just really good at making things, especially related to comedy, looking very easy. I think a lot of aspiring comics have this issue where they can't read a room. They don't know what's too far, and they don't know what's too close. They don't understand who you can push and who you can pull. They don't understand that, not everybody's into a joke, where Conan, for the last 30 years, has pretty much established himself as a being, and anyone he works with, I assume, knows what they're getting into. But say, for example, I went up to Mary Kay, and said, hey, I want to record something. First of all, it's going to be no. That's just not happening in any world. Second off, I probably wouldn't have the quick wit to come up with everything after, one after one after one after one. Because you have to think, these get edited down. He spent a day there and we got 8 minutes of content. There's at least several hours just not used, considered unfunny compared to the rest. And when you think about the context of how funny this video is, I'm willing to bet that there's at least 2 hours of pure gold sitting on someone's hard drive. It's just a massively and ironically inspirational video. It kind of makes it seem like comedy really can be found anywhere. And while I believe that's true, I don't believe that anyone could just mine it like that. It's very often the simplest things that require the most delicacy. Delicacy? What the fuck am I talking about? The most delicate hands. Jesus Christ, delicacy. I lost my train of thought, and now I feel like a fraud. I obviously adore what Conan does and what he produces with his team, and I find it deeply valuable to look at these videos and analyze them and talk to people about it. And whilst, yeah, I do kind of low-key, high-key want to build a career on it, it's something that I just love to learn about as it is. I mentioned earlier, I watch these remotes and I find out, oh my god, I stole that from Conan. But it's not really just the humor. My personality, a lot of who I am as an individual, the things I'm interested in, the people I respect, and the values I uphold, as I go back in time and I watch the Late Night Show, Tonight Show, and Conan, listen to Conaf, I'm just kind of reminded that the elements of him are in me. They're everywhere. And it's really scary to think about. A man I've never met, never known, had so much influence on me that he's built a section of me. And that man just happens to be a complete buffoon, a man of such intellect and reprieve. None of this, of course, has anything to do with the Mary Kay review, and I simply just have emotions, a rarity of the modern world. But to wrap this up, Conan could take that video just off of YouTube and sell it relabeled as a masterclass in comedy. I mean, it's genuinely just one of the funniest, rewatchable Conan-y remotes that could ever be put out there. Let me know down below as a comment what your favorite remote is, and maybe I'll review that one too. Remember to follow and subscribe wherever you're listening, and feel free to check out the Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram. All of them are at Let's Talk Conan. I had a good time, and I hope you did too. Thanks for talking, Conan.